Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, March 27, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Savransky at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. A lot to go over. Teddy, Major League Baseball is now in the on-deck circle. The Sweet 16 getting underway. What a time to be alive. 24 hours from the storm. We got you covered. But, as always, Teddy, there's always NFL news all around the calendar, and it starts up again yesterday. Big news coming through. Pass interference, both offensive and defense, will be reviewable, Teddy, and also under 2 minutes. They're going to defer back off the field to the NFL, which any one of these plays can be reviewed at any time. Teddy, I'm always a procrastinator. I worry about things like this. I don't even care if the game goes longer. I just want to know if it's going to impact my betting needs. But big news coming from the NFL yesterday, Teddy.
Oh, and the NFL, I mean, they got it wrong. They flat out got it wrong with this. Talk about a knee-jerk reaction. Yes, there was a missed pass interference call in the playoffs. That was huge. No question. To say, all right, now every pass interference call is challengeable, and within the last 2 minutes of the game, we're going to see these endless video reviews of potential pass interference, not pass interference. Clear, indisputable evidence. That's all I ask for from the replay reviews. When it's clear and indisputable, I'm with you. Change it. But we see so many replays where, no, it's not clear. No, it's not indisputable. But, the replay both says, maybe let's change this up. I don't like it. It makes the games longer. And it's a knee-jerk. It is a knee-jerk. Yeah, there will be bad calls without it. Guess what? There'll be bad calls with it, too.
Yeah, Ted, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, because when we look at last year with the lowering of the helmet rule, they called a penalty, it seemed like 3 times per quarter, and then all of a sudden disappeared during the regular season. The one issue I have is because we know in the 2-minute drill, it's a lot of helter-skelter out there, a lot of stuff moving fast, a lot of plays, a short amount of time. Now, are we talking about, like, here's the problem I'm going to have, the pass interference on the ball. But what about the opposite side of the field where somebody's tugging on a jersey that has no impact whatsoever for the play? Is that now going to be taken a look at? Is that going to be sent into the league? And more importantly, Teddy, talking about the pass interference call on the Hail Mary is the first thing that comes up. Now, look, I'm a doomsday type scenario guy. Well, what happens if this happens at the worst possible moment? But the one thing I always liked, and I can equate it sometimes, Teddy, to Major League Baseball before replay got in, if the ball got to the bag before the player stealing second base, it almost didn't matter if the tag was applied in a fair amount of time. He was out. If we take a look at this, it's designed as a last-ditch effort. So you telling me that if a wide receiver's design is, I'm just going to run into the first defensive back I see and hopefully draw a call, that's going to be ridiculous at the end of games, Teddy.
And then think about it. After the Hail Mary is complete or incomplete, then you have an 8-minute review saying, well, there was or wasn't a pass interference call on this play. It has the potential to wreak havoc for bettors. It has the potential to make the last 2 minutes of these games, which are already nerve-wracking, even more nerve-wracking. And it has the potential to make NFL games, which are endless at times, last even longer. I'm not in favor of this rule change. And the NFL won't be either after they see what happens. But once you add more video reviews, it's very hard to take them away. Be careful what you wish for in that regard, Saints backers.
Nope. Yeah, one last reach on this. I mean, not too long ago, my Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl where the last play of the game was a Hail Mary. I can just see it now, Teddy, on the biggest stage out there, the confetti raining down and the ref running to midfield saying, whoa, even though you just won this game, we're going to take a few minutes to review it. You're going to have the total that's going to be impacted. You're going to have the side impacted, and whoever won the game and maybe a championship. Maybe it's a little bit too much that we're talking about this on That Betting Show, but I'm a doomsday scenario type guy. Another rule change, Teddy. Some interesting stuff here. The Chiefs won overtime with both teams getting the ball in the overtime, regardless if the other team scores a touchdown. And why would the Chiefs be so interested in that, Teddy? Well, if you saw the AFC Championship game, Tom Brady got the football, moved down the field, scored a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes and that electric offense never got a chance to get back on the field. This wasn't passed, Teddy, but was tabled until future meetings in May.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Because, again, I worry about games being too long, games being way too long. And by the way, I remember an arena football game back in the day where the streamers and everything came back down, and they're like, oh, yeah, we got one more play. And it was a big mess. It took a long time to clean up that final play. That could and will happen. But, yeah, you like the concept of both teams getting the ball in overtime, but that also means the likelihood or more likelihood of second overtimes and third overtimes and games like the college games that can go 4, 4.5, 5 hours. I don't think the NFL wants that. So I can understand why they would table that particular rule change.
Yeah, when we're looking at that too, Ted, because I agree with what you're saying there. In the regular season, I don't see the big need for it because if you're going to overtime, you don't want to play the extra quarter, quarter and a half, 2 quarters, whatever it might be. In the playoffs, I can certainly see it. And another key ingredient, Teddy, on the pass interference calls that we were looking at, as you just mentioned with the Arena League, let's not forget the 2002 National Championship game with those Miami Hurricanes and Ohio State Buckeyes where the confetti came down. Guys were throwing their helmets up. Wait a second. Threw in the back of the end zone, threw a late flag. And when Miami figures they had won it all and they could finally, take that big exhale, they had to get back out on the field. And, of course, Craig Krenzel and the Buckeyes end up beating them. Another interesting one here, Teddy, that we're taking a look at, which you saw a real decrease last year. The onside kick, we don't want it to be a 50-50 conversion, sort of a gimmick, but it was hitting at about a 22% rate. Last year, they make the rule changes in the way of safety, where you can't have that many people on either side of the football on an onside kick. Only 7.5 of the onside kick tries were actually converted. 4th and 15 conversions to keep the football, Teddy. Good or bad on your end on this one? I actually like the idea because I think it's obsolete now, the actual onside kick.
It's an interesting idea. As a bettor, I don't like it. And I'll tell you why. As a bettor, you don't like onside kicks. You don't like 4th and 15 conversions. You want the right side to cash the ticket. And I can tell you for fact, just about every worst beat story you're going to have, NFL, college football, involves a recovered onside kick. A 4th and 15 conversion. Those are the plays you don't want in the NFL to succeed on a regular basis. So I'm not in favor of making them easier. I say make it harder.
There you go. Look at that. See, opposite ends of the spectrum right there. I agree with you, though, because I'm a big proponent, Ted. You're probably the same way as I am. Sometimes I take a basketball game and I say to myself, if I'm up 20 at the half, I deserve to win that basketball game. If they get the comeback, it's all fine and good. But the times you lose when you're up 20 at the half, you do get a little bit more angry. So if you are up within the cover, if you have the total, if you're sitting on the under, just have the game wrap up with a couple knees. I can hear you certainly on that point of view. Major League Baseball, Teddy, as we said to start the show today, the on-deck circle. We're going to hit the Los Angeles Dodgers today, 92-71 in 2018. Dodgers sitting at an 8-1 ticket to win the 2019 World Series, and a team total set at 94. Reloaded out there. You lose Manny Machado, but hey, it's not bad, Teddy, when you lose Manny Machado and get Corey Seager back to man at shortstop. Muncy and Turner are going to have the other corners of the infield. Really talented outfield with Jock Peterson, Cody Bellinger, and that guy we talked about yesterday, A.J. Pollock, resurfaces in center field for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Obviously, when we're taking a look at the Dodgers front end of the rotation, if Kershaw is healthy, that's a win right there. Buehler at the top of the lineup. He's going to be a really good young pitcher this year. But also Kenley Jansen, let's not forget, Teddy, had the problems with the heart last year, had the hamstring issues. He's looking to overcome it this year. But the overall makings of the Los Angeles Dodgers, good baseball club.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're talking about a team that's won, 6 straight division titles, and they're clear favorites to win the division again in 2019. The Dodgers have all the things you want for contenders. They have money to spend. They will be buyers at the trade deadline, just like they were last year and the year before. You can expect that from the Dodgers. We like the front office in LA. We like Dave Roberts in terms of his everyday. He keeps that locker room together. And Roberts is also really good. Dodgers platoon more than most teams. And Roger's been really good at executing those platoons. You like the lineup for LA? They're going to score runs. I'm with you on the pitching staff, though. So much rides on Kershaw. And let's be real about Kershaw. He's been an ace for a long, long time. He has not been as effective in the last 2 years. He's faced injury problems. When he's been in the lineup, he's not been a shutdown starter, game in, game out. And behind him, boy, they're counting on a lot of starts from some guys with potential, but also guys with a long history of injuries. Let's not forget Jansen's troubles in the closing role last year. I've got my concerns about LA. And again, this is a team with nothing to prove in the regular season. So even though the Dodgers are clear favorites, even though there's a lot to like about the Dodgers, I'm not going to bet them over 94 wins. I'm just not. That's not the, even though we expect them to be purchasers down the road, this Dodgers team looks to me to be very good, but maybe not great.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you always have to keep, that ace in the hole, as we like to say, because that's a high payroll team where they're always looking to spend money with a stocked farm system. You see them go out and get the likes of Machado last year. If they're hanging in the race, which we expect them to do, they're probably going to be more of a buyer, obviously, at the deadline than a seller. How about their counterparts, Teddy, just a little bit south there, those San Diego Padres, who were 66 and 96 in 2018. Usually the afterthought in this division, but go out this offseason and spend some money. Currently sitting at a 50-1 ticket to win the 2019 World Series. Padres team total set at 78 this year, paying Machado $300 million. All of a sudden, Teddy, we used to look at this Padres, or at least I did, look at this Padres lineup, be like, yeah, you know what? Nice little piece here, nice little piece there, but usually nondescript guys coming up, prospects. This team, 1 through 8, is a pretty good ball club out here. And if we take a look at the pitching, the one thing that I do want to say is it's really young. If it can improve and improve vastly this year, they can look at maybe making a run, but I just still think with that young pitching staff, Teddy, maybe a year or two away, but I really like the way the looks of this lineup is.
Sure, the Padres should be scoring runs in a stadium, Of course, that prevents anyone from scoring runs. But that may be good news when we talk about Padres totals. Petco routinely, totaled 6.5, 7, 7.5. And as you mentioned, there's a lot to like about this lineup, especially if Urias and Tatis end up living up to expectations as young contributors to this lineup to go along with your Kinslers and Will Myers and Eric Hosmers and Machado. Of course, this team should score runs. I got all kinds of questions about the pitching staff. Lucchesi and Erlin at the top of the rotation. Really? I understand nasty young lefties, first time through the league, they're going to look pretty good. I really don't know that they're going to be able to consistently get batters out. I don't like this bullpen. I see the starting staff as a bunch of 4th and 5th starters, not a bunch of frontline starters. And that has me thinking, boy, I want to be betting some of these Padre games over the total. I'll be looking to do that right from the get-go of the 2019 season.
No, you're right, Teddy. They used to have a really good bullpen, but gave away a lot of those pieces over the past year and a half to try to help other teams and stock their farm system. We'll see if that comes home to roost this year. Segment number 2, overnight line movers, Teddy, SBRodds.com, the best place on the internet to check those lines that are constantly moving. We're going to take a look at the NIT tonight and a line that has been moving. Now, the NIT, as you know, looking in the semifinals, looking to get to New York City, Colorado and Texas on the rotation, 627, 628, lined open offshore, Teddy, at -7. Now sitting currently at 5.5, total of 139, money line split, 215 minus 255.
Yeah, and I think there are two factors in play here. I can certainly understand the move. First is that Colorado's coming off a game where they won by 16 at home, and they were mad about it. Tad Boyle, quote, "I think it's a good sign for our program when you win a game by 16 at home and you feel a little sense of disappointment. I felt like we weren't at our best tonight. They did not. A sloppy game against Norfolk State in their last outing. And for Texas, here are these NIT games. Well, are they selling out? No. 1,600 fans showed up for the first round. They got 3,000 for the second round. Lots of empty seats available. Lots of good seats still available. Hence, some of the money for Colorado tonight.
No, it's kind of funny you brought that up, Teddy, because I was actually watching some of that game the other night, and they have an every bit as big as NBA-style arena as you can have in college basketball, and the best seats in the house, you could have sat right there courtside in that game. So, obviously, between making the tournament and making the NIT, completely different than what your fan base is that expects you to play in March Madness. OKC total bouncing around early on Wednesday, Teddy. Opened up at 216, dropped to 215. Now we're seeing it back to 217.5. Pacers, OKC, -6. Totals, we just said, 217.5, money line split, plus 225, minus 265.
Yeah, I think the early money came in reaction to, OKC's been god-awful offensively since the All-Star break. They're 29th in the NBA in offensive efficiency. Only the New York Knickerbockers have been worse than OKC. That's one of the reasons why they've been burning their backers' money so much in recent weeks. So we have a Thunder team that's not playing good offense, but the move towards the over, based on the news, I believe, that Darren Collison's going to be back for Indiana. Their backup point guard, their starting point guard at times this season, has been missed the last 3 games, in fact. He's going to be back in the lineup tonight, which should give the Pacers offense a bit of a boost.
Segment 3, watch what you bet here on That Betting Show. Well, tonight you're not actually going to watch it, but we're going to get the Sweet 16 party started. Let the dance resume. SEC versus Big Ten. Matt Painter is going to take the court. Well, he's not just going to take the court. He's going to coach his squad against Rick Barnes. Line currently sitting here, Teddy. Tennessee minus 1.5 total. 146.5 money line split plus 100 minus 120. Now, I do see the time here is listed at 7:29 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be the old man that yells at the cloud in just a few moments here, but we'll let that go. KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Purdue, Teddy, comes in the Sweet 16 after beating Old Dominion handily by double digits and then absolutely flatlining Villanova. We take a look at Tennessee coming in. You know, they were down the Colgate, Teddy, in the second half, 52-50. Ended up winning that game. Have a huge lead against another Big Ten foe in Iowa. Lose that lead going to overtime. The two different styles coming in. One team handling it easily. The other team getting a couple sweats. Should be a good one tomorrow night.
Yeah, sure, good. Now, Purdue falls into a system for teams that were in the Sweet 16 last year and make a return trip to the Sweet 16. Those teams 1-5 against the number in 2018, and long term, talking about 62 and 80 ATS. They have not been particularly good in this role. So the teams that were there last year and are back again this year, sometimes there's some issues with these Sweet 16 squads. Now, obviously, we saw Tennessee struggle. We saw them struggle in the first game. We saw them struggle in the second game. All that easy money, they're up 21. Well, it didn't end up being so easy as Iowa with a furious comeback. Of course, Tennessee, the only Sweet 16 survivor with 5 returning starters. And yet, even with all of that returning talent, they still couldn't avoid the collapse against Iowa. Bettors have some concerns about this Tennessee squad. All that being said, Purdue has not done well against top seeds in the tournament. In fact, Mac Painter 0-7 straight up against 1, 2, or 3 seeds. And it's certainly a Boilermakers team. Brilliant. They're coming off a great game in which they dominated Villanova. Sometimes you worry about the teams that played their best game last weekend and then go home and have to bring back that same magic the following week. So certainly I can understand why there's been a little bit of money towards Tennessee. The one's mostly gone now. 1.5's the prevailing number. I can understand why Tennessee is a favorite in this ballgame. Despite
Purdue, good to need Carson Edwards to step up there, Teddy. I mean, you took a look at the last 2 games, 13 3-pointers that he did make. So it should be a good one tomorrow night. And then again, we're going to flip it over out to the West Coast, Teddy, your neck of the woods. It's going to be a 4 o'clock Pacific time tip. Again, just tipping my hand to the next segment that we're going to have in just a few moments here. Seminoles coming in playing Gonzaga, minus 7.5. Gonzaga's the favorite, Teddy. Total 146.5 money line split, plus 280, minus 350. Seminoles only 2 losses since mid-January to UNC on the road in the Dean Smith Center and Duke in the ACC title game. Also an FSU team playing with a lot of emotion right now. Phil Kofer, who missed the first couple games with a foot injury. Father passes away while he's in the locker room, gets the phone call, goes home to the funeral, won't be back. And Leonard Hamilton telling his boys, hey, look, not going to have Phil Kofer this weekend. The only way we get him back, boys, is if we win this weekend and head to the Final Four. Taking a look at the Zags, their lone loss in 2019 was in Las Vegas for the 2019 West Coast Conference Championship game. Gonzaga, back-to-back double-digit wins in the tournament. 2 of the more deep teams that we're going to see heading down the stretch here, Teddy. Should be a good one out there on the West Coast to get it going.
Yeah, I stepped in front of the Zags last time out, and boy, I wanted a bet that I didn't deserve. I mean, really, they outclassed Baylor in a way that I didn't think that they would. And they did it pretty easily. And they controlled that game, and they ended up only winning by 12. So I saw the extra value on the Baylor side, I guess, and was able to cash a ticket because of that extra value. But I'm in no rush to step in front of the Zags again. Let's not forget, number 1 seeds in the Sweet 16. Last 5 years, 12-2-1 against the spread. They've been really good in this particular game. Of course, Gonzaga has some additional motivation. They lost in the Sweet 16 last year to Florida State, and they lost badly in that game. They were down from the get-go. They struggled throughout, 75-60. They were 6-point favorites in that game. Gonzaga shot only 34% from the floor, only 25% from 3-point range. Only had 12 turnovers. It wasn't Florida State turning them over. They just couldn't make shots against the Seminoles defense. Now, Leonard Hamilton's been really good. 6-1 against the spread, taking points in the big dance. 5-0 ATS versus top seeds number 4 or better. All that being said, Gonzaga in this tournament, they've been pretty good when not double-digit chalk. How about 16-2-1 against the number their last 19 tries?
I'm excited for it, Teddy. I'm excited for tomorrow. Overall, the weekend's going to be great. Got Major League Baseball obviously going Thursday through Sunday, the same way you have NCAA March Madness heading off, and some blue bloods in there. A lot of stuff to break down. Looks like we're going to have a fun weekend. But I have to get this in here, Teddy. Setting up the Sweet 16 starting times, and every year I say the same thing, and it just makes it more and more interesting every year. You have a 4 o'clock Pacific time start. You're going to have 9:59 tips on the East Coast in Louisville. And heaven forbid, we always know that first game usually goes longer. And if it goes to overtime, we could see it pushing 10:30 as a tip on the East Coast. Teddy, I'm 41. I'm not 21. It's even hard for me to stay up. Talk me off the ledge. Am I wrong? What are we doing here in the NCAA tournament here with these times?
All of these problems that you worry about with the starting times, it all stops when you move to Vegas, you know? It gets really well. My first year in Vegas was so weird. Like, wake up 9 o'clock in the morning is college football games on Saturday, and 10 a.m. is NFL games, and the NBA tips off at 4 o'clock. Yeah, but you don't have the late game issues. So, Donnie, if you don't like the starting times, if you're becoming a nice old man and that hair's getting a little gray and you're ready to yell at people to get off your lawn, come out to Vegas. You don't even have to move to Vegas. Move to Reno. Move to California. West Coast time is the best time for sports bettors because you don't have to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning to watch these games.
East Coast versus West Coast is what we do every single day with me and Teddy here on That Betting Show. Thanks for tuning in for March 27, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Tomorrow, me and Teddy going over live Major League Baseball. It's going to be an amazing, fun time. Make sure you tune into everything we have here at sportsbookreview.com. He's Teddy Severansky. Give him a follow once again on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, Right Side VP. Will join us tomorrow as we hit Major League Baseball opening day. Take care, folks.